You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Back in the lab, Luke Inman alongside Ryan Tracy. It's Senior Bowl week, day one of practice in the books. Ryan, you're on site down in Mobile, about to get us caught up on all the latest action and drama taking place. But first, remember, this is your one-stop shop for all your Senior Bowl coverage this week and all your NFL draft coverage for the next 3 months. Remember to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Drop us a question or comment down below. Let us know what you think. And don't forget, we're a podcast too, free and available, all platforms. Subscribe, drop us that 5-star review, and take us everywhere on the go. All right, Ryan, so much to get into. I want to pick your brain about some winners and losers down in Mobile. But first things first, it's official. Denver Broncos find their man, their newest head coach, and it's none other than former New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton. Massive hire for Russell Wilson and that organization. The deal sends Payton to Denver for the Broncos' first-round pick. Then in 2024, the teams will swap the Broncos' second-round pick for the Saints' third-round pick, which, for all intents and purposes, if you look at the trade chart, the value of about a middle second-rounder. The Saints, who had no first-round pick, now have the 30th overall pick in round one. That gives them 2 picks in the top 41. So what do you think, Ryan? Just initial thoughts, reaction, takeaways on the move, and Payton landing in Denver.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth, right? Was this going to happen? How was it going to come through? I think the guy who's probably most relieved about getting this deal done is Russell Wilson, because he needs the help. I don't think that I'm sold that he's cooked completely. I do think this was a challenge for him. The Hackett offense clearly had issues. The offensive line clearly has issues as well. That's my only concern here. Obviously, you had to give up the first-round pick if you're going to get Payton away from the Saints. But now, what do you do? Is free agency, is there enough spend in the budget to go help Russ? Because I do think that Sean Payton is going to realize, maybe more so than some other possibilities, had this not worked out to be the hire, just what he has to do to support Russell Wilson. That's going to be the key to getting the Broncos back on track, fighting against the Raiders and the Chargers here to try and place next season in the AFC West.
Yeah, that division absolutely loaded for the next 5, 6, 7 years. And it's easy to forget about all the accolades and achievements Payton had in New Orleans because, I mean, he's been out of football and it's such a, what have you done for me lately league and kind of world we live in now. But this is a Super Bowl winner, a coach who maximizes every quarterback he touches, whether that was Drew Brees, sharpening his skills into a Pro Bowl, maybe Hall of Fame player, but maybe no better example and resume booster than when I look at Jameis Winston. I mean, we're talking about a guy just who gets the best out of his quarterback. Sean Payton was able to just kind of calm Jameis down a little bit, tame the beast, so to speak, and just got him to be an efficient quarterback for once in his career. Not perfect by any means, but the point is, he saw Winston's best football under Sean Payton, even led the league in passing yards a few seasons ago. So now I look at him working with Russell Wilson, and I think if you're a Bronco fan, you got to be sleeping easy tonight, knowing whatever the best football is left of Russell Wilson, Sean Payton's going to no doubt get the most out of them. And then maybe most importantly, on the Broncos side too, not giving up next year's first-round pick. Remember, all the rumors were Payton for multiple firsts. That's the minimum. That's the bar. That's where we start discussions, and not only give up a late one this season and swap picks next year, but now you got a security blanket, it feels like, and maybe a plan B, if you will, in case they run it back with Russell and you still get the same performance. Now you got some ammo to start moving your way up to draft a quarterback next year, whoever that may be. That's a huge win for the Broncos organization today, and again, nobody should reap the benefits more than Russell Wilson. Before we deep dive into the Senior Bowl, last part of this trade I want to talk. Look at the Saints roster here real quick. There's certainly some great pieces, but until they figure out their quarterback situation, I don't know what to think of them. So at least they got some ammo to work with now again. They get the first rounder back. They got 2 picks in the top 41. What's just an ideal scenario look like for them? Just kind of knee-jerk reaction. I know it's breaking news here, but if they can come away with 2 day one starters now, or maybe package those picks up for a new young quarterback like an Anthony Richardson, for example, maybe Hendon Hooker falls in their lap if they like him. the future looks a lot brighter in New Orleans, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think that's probably the best case scenario is that you're able to package that and get up into the high teens, maybe right around 20. Maybe you can get that done, and the third, fourth quarterback, if they fall that far, can be yours. Maybe that's Richardson. I have trouble seeing that being the guy that lands there. I think Hendon Hooker's being overlooked because of the injury quite a bit right here. I think he's right in the thick of it with Levis and Richardson there in the middle three, I'm going to call them. So whoever they like, it gives them enough variability. They can move around, get a couple of things done, and maybe make that play on the guy that they think can be their future. This goes a long way for a coach that I think can change the fortunes of two franchises in this deal.
Yeah, no doubt. Great way of putting that. Absolutely agree. On top of the Sean Payton hire, Houston Texans, they also agreed to a 6-year deal with DeMeco Ryans. 2 big names now off the coaching list, and we should see the domino effect kind of take place with the remaining vacancies around the league here pretty quickly. This was rumored to be in the works for a while. They finally got it done. Your reaction to DeMeco landing in Houston and just the fit he brings to the table?
I know there's some history there. I thought maybe that was going to be a hiccup. Clearly, it did take some time to work through, so that does make sense that you can repair some fences and get it done. Clearly, front offices are being busy while I'm out here working on my Mobile tan today. A lot going on, but you got to keep the doors open for business at all times.
Yeah, just curious what he can do with some young defensive talent like a Derek Stingley, Jalen Pitre, 2 rookies in the secondary from last year. Going to be excited how that all works out. All right, coming up next, we're breaking down the biggest Senior Bowl winners and losers. But first, Senior Bowl talk coming up next after I tell you about FanDuel. It's the only app you need at your Super Bowl party, America's #1 sportsbook. Download the app now so you can bet on Super Bowl 57. FanDuel allows you to bet money lines, point spreads, and player props. It's safe, secure, and easy to use. Plus, you get your winnings instantly. Join FanDuel today. FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Ryan, you're my eyes and ears down there right now. I need to know the buzz, the latest winners and losers down at the Senior Bowl practice. Huge opportunity for these guys to improve their draft stock in front of every team's coach and scouts. Let's just lie through each position here real quick. You tell me a guy who impressed you today. Let's start at the top with quarterback. Will Levis obviously declined his invite. Left the cupboard kind of dry, so to speak, in that group. Who got out to a hot start, though, on day one?
The guy that I watched the most and I came away feeling better about than I walked in was Jake Haener. And I think he made some progress there, showed that he's able to move the ball, target with accuracy, maybe better than we've seen him in the past. There's some questions on this film about just can you replicate that over and over and over. I thought it was a good first day. Now, for a prospect like Haener, though, it is always about what do you do next? Where do you progress? This next 30 hours are really going to change his fortunes. And the next 2 practices is how far he can go. I really did like what I saw from him there. And on the other side, I thought Max Duggan took away some of the doubts that, yes, I can walk into an offense that isn't my own and I can move the ball with guys that I don't play with all the time. We know that he's been a stalwart in his program, and he does still talk like a quarterback at a college, at a program. That is a bit of a takeaway, but there is that kind of confidence in being able to move the ball when he doesn't have all the ins and outs with all of his targets. I thought he looked fine first day. I look for him to take a step tomorrow.
Max Duggan, Davey O'Brien, award winner for best quarterback in the country. Glad to hear report coming out that he had a good day one. How about running backs? You know, like I do, NFL teams can always find a legit talent on day 3 in this running back group. The guy who I'm really starting to kind of fall for, Texas running back Roschon Johnson. Now, everyone knows Bijan Robinson, but his backup, I thought was pretty legit on tape. He maximized his opportunities, let's put it that way. He was just in a tough position because he was stuck behind the #1 tailback in the country. Which running back of this group stuck out to you the most?
I think Johnson's a good example. I thought it was a solid day. I didn't see anything super jumping out off the film here. We'll have a chance to review the All-22 as well, and we'll see if something was missed, because when it's all going on, it is a little bit difficult. Kenny McIntosh also is a guy that I think is solidifying. He's not getting the top 4 talk. He should. He can do it all, and he's built to be a guy that is in the modern NFL. And I really like the 2 of them today. Now, this is a great great running back group. So there's plenty to come from them. But those two in particular, I heard a lot of buzz around Johnson in particular. And can he now step into that light a little bit more and take a little bit more on himself? It felt today a little bit still like he was a guy used to be in the backup. I want to see him like take charge and really break something off tomorrow. We'll hope to see that.
Yeah, one of everyone's favorite drills down in Mobile, running back pass pro. You get some of these guys matched up on some of the best linebackers in the country. Just a chance for them to separate themselves and prove they can be a 3-down kind of guy in the NFL. How about some of the skill positions? Nathan Dell from Houston and the kid from Princeton flooding my timeline today with highlights and clips from practice. Did they steal the show, or was there someone else who kind of caught your eye?
You know, I liked them both. I thought they were solid days. To be honest, I didn't really see anybody stand out in an enormous way. A little bit of ticks up, a little bit of ticks down, back and forth. I thought the DBs, actually, there's probably more of a bolster for them than it is for the receivers not showing up. It just was pretty much expectation for me. Now, one guy who did stand out in a positive way was Elijah Higgins from Stanford. Didn't expect to see quite as much pop of him coming off of the routes. Maybe that's a tick up. I don't think it was an earth-shattering day. I don't think anybody's really jostling their draft position because of this first practice, but let's see what happens tomorrow.
No, a lot of good points there. Yeah, maybe no alpha number one guy kind of down there, but in a league that loves to spread them out 4 or 5 wide, a lot of intriguing names down there that could be serious contributors in the NFL. Maybe one of the best just overall players at the Senior Bowl, just from a prospect evaluation standpoint, or at least has got to be up there, Oregon State tight end Luke Musgraves. Did he look the part as the top dog early on?
He didn't get a whole lot of deep routes, but especially in finding the space in the zones and coming off the ball with some decent quickness. He's coming off a significant injury, but I felt that he looked pretty athletic and he looked very natural in the way that he gets around the ball, ran his routes cleanly. I liked him. The other guy that stood out to me too is a name that I don't even have on my list currently, but it is Davis Allen from Clemson. Moved really well. I expected to see him be more of an inline type guy. Surprised me a little bit today with his athleticism. And the guy that I think is square in the middle of the pack and is going to play some meaningful snaps at the next level that nobody's talking about right now is Letu from Alabama. I do think that he is a guy that is just going to be a workman-like, get your first downs, move the chains, come back, block the snot out of somebody, and give you everything that you're looking for. I think he's really rounding into shape here, and I think this preseason preamble to the draft is going to help him quite a bit.
Phenomenal insider info there from day one of practice. Listeners at home jotting some of those names down right now. All right, how about the trenches? I know you spent a lot of time watching these guys, the hog mollies, the beef eaters. I'm really connecting the dots for my Vikings to go for center John Michael Schmitz. Fits a huge need, and you got the local connection. Problem is, with no second-round pick, they may have to bite the bullet in round one. Which offensive lineman stood out to you at practice today?
Hands down, the guy that I was really eager to see, and he paid off. It was Cody Mock. I like the way he moves. I think he can play 4 positions on the offensive line when it comes to the league. I think he can do it all. I was skeptical, I have to say, because I think some of the smart school guys have been a little overhyped versus their delivery once they're in the league over the last few years. But, man, he moved with anchor well. He was able to recenter. His reset is really incredible. Even when he has initially lost the rep, he's able to move his feet, his lower body, and use that torque. His torso is strong. He's got that bend to him that he can recover, reset his anchor. And I was really happy with the way that he moved around today. There was a lot of good stuff out there on the offensive line, defensive line group. It's not just the one-on-ones. It's how you work as a group as well. And there were some good reps from a lot of guys.
So glad you brought up Cody from North Dakota State. He's been getting some buzz heading into the week. One of the small school guys everybody had circled. Only gave up 2 sacks his final 2 seasons. Love to hear the versatility that he's a guy who could come in and play multiple positions. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. Don't know if you saw this. Keon White from Georgia Tech landed in Mel Kiper's latest round 1 mock draft. I also saw him on Bruce Feldman's freak list last summer, so I'm keeping tabs on him this week. But of that entire group, who's just 1 or 2 guys that you just absolutely love that people need to start remembering?
I think the guy that's been least remembered so far, and a guy that showed some spark today, again, this isn't like the dominant group,
right?
But I thought KG Henry had a good day coming out. I think he has the upside that he can kind of show off. There's been a lot of hype about Will McDonald. I see them as pretty similar at this point. Who can take a step forward and really change their fortune in the next practice? I think that's going to be up for grabs. Let's see. There was Byron Young from Tennessee. I thought he had a couple of nice reps as well. McDonald, I was watching pretty closely. I think Ali Gay is still, I have to say, not 100% from his injury, but I do see that he has the re-anchor and the power after his strike to extend, and I think that's still core to his game. I think he's going to be on the road to recovery. He may be a guy that goes later in the draft, but by year 3 is able to be not only in a starter role, but a guy that can give you some meaningful pressures.
Last one here, the defensive back group, and I saved the best for last because arguably this cornerback group is the strongest position of the class, loaded at the top, deep in the middle rounds. It's hard to imagine anything could be better than last year's cornerback class, but this one might push it. There's 5, 6, maybe 7 first-round candidates, especially when you look at the middle teams with teams like New England, Washington, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chargers, Vikings. They all desperately need cornerback help. So that's where the run could begin. But who down at the Senior Bowl has stuck out to you the most?
I'll tell you, it's not just the player, it's the school. There's been a lot of hubbub about what these Illinois players can do. A lot of people like downgrading them because of the size of their program. Put that stuff out the window, right? Because they showed up today, and at times everybody contributed. I think this is a group of guys that have played well in their conference. They're comfortable in that scheme. Had a couple of flashes today, but I think they all have room to grow tomorrow and Thursday before they get to that game. And I think they might be the prime candidates in the defensive backfield that can take a step forward. Now, I also spent some time specifically looking at safety play because I'm intrigued by the body that is JL Skinner and what he's able to do. Came down in the box really well today. For a guy that's on the thin side, that frame holds up over there. Can he play the deep middle? That's going to be the big question. I saw a couple of moments today where he could, a couple of moments where I wish he jumped on it a little bit faster. There's a little bit more there. And I think the guy that's being underrated the most in the safety class right now is Chris Smith from Georgia. I thought he did a great job in man coverage against the tight ends, fighting through being undersized and not having the weight to put behind that. When they body him up, he's still able to move around and try to affect the pass around the sides, even though these guys are huge against him. Those are the two safeties that stood out to me today.
Love what you said at the top. Stop scouting the helmet. Don't worry about what program these guys are from. Just look at the film and watch his practice down in Mobile. And I got to say, too, as far as the cornerback group, if Nathan Dell was the top guy flooding the timeline today, Julius Brents from Kansas State was second. And I'm starting to see why. 6'4", maybe the longest wingspan of the group. Can't wait to continue watching him throughout the pre-draft process as well. Any final thoughts or quick notes we didn't hit that you want to let the listeners know before we go?
You know, it was an interesting day. It started out pretty cold, pretty wet in terms of moisture, and then it burned off, and obviously the sun came out. You can see here. I think that's a testament to being able to shift gears. A lot of defensive linemen were slipping, particularly in some of the one-on-ones coming out of the end zones. So we hope that the weather holds and the field dries up a little bit for tomorrow, because I really want to see some of the guys tee off. Keep an eye on defensive tackle from Northwestern. Keep an eye on both of the Syracuse tackle as well as the Oklahoma guys. I thought there were sparks there. I just want to see them with better footing and a little bit better ability to have their foundation underneath them.
Yeah, my time down in Mobile, one of the first questions I always ask some of these guys is, how are you acclimating? They really like to throw the kitchen sink at you and see how you can adjust on the fly. Guys in the passing game, tough for a quarterback to come in with some of these wide receivers they'd never worked with, never even met before, and sit there and try to grow that timing and chemistry and rhythm down. So a lot of great points down there today, Ryan. All right, that's a wrap today. Plenty more Senior Bowl and draft coverage coming your way every day on the Locked On NFL Draft Network. We're live in Mobile this week. We're grinding the film. We're crunching the numbers. Also, you can tune in and reap all the benefits and keep up to date on the 2023 NFL Draft. So remember, you got to smash that subscribe button so you never miss a beat. Like, sub, and hit the bell. Leave a comment down below. We want to know who your Senior Bowl crush is and your thoughts on Sean Payton to Denver. For Ryan Tracy on Twitter, at Ryan Tracy NFL, I'm Luke Inman on Twitter, at Luke_Spinman. Until next time, signing out.